I've just received a message from Dr. Nyaho Tawaklo. Apparently he's watching the show and he has his own take on the conversation we're having about the thank you tour. And he says, good morning, Moro. It's if a major political if a major political economic decision has been made without Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's knowledge or with his knowledge but disagreed and yet his advice was ignored, the only thing he should have done was to have resigned. Thanks, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Dr. Nyaho, I've heard this suggestion many times, but I've said it also time and again that it would have been politically suicidal for him to have done that. I don't think that he would have stood a chance at all if he had decided to resign because he disagrees with some policy position which has been taken by cabinet. But anyway, Eric, let me bring you.
You see, and I think that sort of dovetails into even some of the things that Uncle Kwesi said. There's a certain convention, which is a convention of collective responsibility that should not be lost on us. That as a member of a cabinet or any government, if a decision is taken, regardless of what your views are, once a majority goes a certain way, you're bound by that. You understand? If you have a disagreement, if you were going to resign on every single disagreement, then they probably will not have any government. So that principle of collective responsibility still remains. Now, if you are being governed by the tenets of democracy to start with, whereby the majority would hold sway every now and then, and it's on record that you have actually espoused your opinions and maybe a disagreement on a particular matter. As a consummate Democrat, you're meant to go by those tenets. I have examples, and I'll go by those examples. Now, then, fast forward, the individual becomes a flag bearer, a presidential candidate, and he says that even though I go by all of these things and I agree in principle to the general direction and the ideals and principles of the New Patriotic Party, as an individual, as president, this is my vision. This is what I feel that would project this country to the next level. And everybody has done that. There has been clear departures from what former President Rawlings did and what Atta Mills did, what President Mahama has done. President Akufo-Addo did certain things that were clear departures on what President Kufuor did, even though he was a key member of his cabinet. Bawumia wanting to do the same does not mean that he's throwing President Akufo-Addo under the bus. Otherwise, then what are you standing for? You know, and the same people will say that, oh, Bawumia is just an extension of Akufo-Addo, and that because of that, we shouldn't give him an opportunity to serve. When in another breath, they are saying that, oh, everything that an Akufo-Addo administration will do, he should take responsibility. Fair enough. Now, you're going also by a constitution that you ran, which actually, and we have had this conversation here before, what are actually the powers of a vice president in the current state of the constitution that we have? So, in as much as you have an opinion, you have a say, when you go to cabinet and there's a majority decision on a matter, you have to live in, and that, unless there are things that are, yes, unless, of course, there are things that are, you know, there are, even in normal everyday relationships, right? There are deal breakers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you disagree with an orientation like a position like E-Levy based on his agenda for digitalization and financial inclusion and all of those things, which is something that is on record. He has every right to say that. However, you have a finance minister or you have a ministry that thinks that, well, this is also an avenue to give us revenue, and you go to cabinet or wherever these discussions are made, and the majority come with the view that this is the same position that needs to be taken. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, then really we are actually changing the goalpost every time as we go along. Now, you see,
Eric, how about those who say Eric, how about those who say that because he has an ambition, he wants to lead the party, he must at least he must at least show, he must stand for a certain principle, okay, which is to say that there's something I stand for, and I'm not prepared to countenance this.
Yeah, but that's
in order to make him different from everybody else.
That's on record. He has said that. He has.
Even if it involves resigning, like
no, but that's what I'm saying. That this whole conversation around resigning is, for me, I think that is a bit overstretched.
Okay.
And I say, unless of course there are major decisions that you can resign on.
Okay.
But the thing is that then how can you be a Democrat to start with? It means that if things doesn't go your way or the decisions are taken and you disagree with, these are individuals, these are professionals, intellectual technocrats, politicians from different ilks, people who have different orientation, and that's what makes up a government. So you would definitely have disagreements. So every time you go to a meeting and there's a disagreement, you resign? No, it doesn't happen like that.
Okay.
Right? And so, again, I mean, you see, people like Palgrave and co, I mean, sometimes we have to restrain ourselves, right?
Why?
I indulged,
Don't.
listen,
feel free, bro.
I indulged in politicking. And you see, there's a bit of disingenuity there, right? Because Vice President Bawumia goes on and uses the word we in most of the things that he says. Now, when he says we, how does we translate into him throwing President Akufo-Addo under the bus? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's politics. And the thing is that because we have been asked to basically be restraining ourselves and everything, it's politics that is engaged in, right? But for me, it's actually quite rich that someone like Palgrave has the audacity and the effrontery to be writing and putting articles. Because me, the first time I saw Palgrave, we were a second term in Akufo-Addo administration. I was in 20,000 Yagaba. Does he even know the way to Yagaba Kubori? What has he done?
Bawumia's
no, but you see, but the point is,
even if he joined yesterday,
the point that I'm trying to make is that he is a beneficiary of work that we have done.
How?
And he enjoyed it. He even became a government spokesperson. Has he even been to a demonstration before?
No, but you people tell us tell us there's nothing in this government communication spokesperson.
No, but I'm just saying that. And now he develops an audacity, and he's questioning somebody who has campaigned for 16 years and become vice president because in his view. No, but I'm just saying that in his view, Bawumia was plucked from somewhere and was made vice president, and he's supposed to be loyal, but Bawumia has shown his loyalty all along. And he has gone on and spoken about the fact that, yes, I believe in that. It's even on record to have said that history will be kind to President Akufo-Addo. So all that these people are indulged in, is politicking. But we will not allow that to happen. Those days are over. You understand what I'm saying? Because as we speak, you take the election results, as we even in 2024, and you look at the impact that Dr. Bawumia had brought in terms of even areas where we have actually made gains that we didn't even have those gains, right? And so all of a sudden, because you are supporting a particular candidate, now you are actually sort of undermining the individual who has run as a but we know where his allegiances lie. But the point is, for a fact.
Okay.
And so when you're doing these conversations, if, for example, Palgrave was here and we're having a debate as to this is a candidate that you prefer and this is a candidate I prefer, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I respect that position. But for you to hide behind this whole attempt to say that he is throwing President Akufo-Addo under the bus when he hasn't done so, when he's on record to have said everywhere that he's gone using the pronoun we, how does we translate into throwing somebody under the bus? Do you understand what I'm saying? And again, like I indicated earlier, there's definitely dissonance. There's apathy. There's a certain level of inertia. There's all of these things that happens when a government is in government for 8 years.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And he is on record to also have interacted with party people.
Okay.
And some of these things are things that are of public, if you like, knowledge.
Okay.
And he's talking about it. And all of a sudden, people have issues with that. And for me, I believe that when they do that, it's disingenuous. You understand? Because people have a lot of things to say. But because we've all been asked to restrain ourselves and not go into the gutter and all of those things. That's why we are keeping quiet.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like some of these things that are coming up, just because an individual goes into a thank you talk. You know what I'm saying? And even, I mean, I'm trying to restrain myself.
Please,
you know what I'm saying?
because I want you to restrain yourself.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because just because Bawumia is going to a thank you talk, people like Palgrave have a problem. Today in NPP. Come on.
How do you respond to?
No, I mean, just one second. Just a second. I honestly.
No, but Akwesi raised some issues about the.
Well, there's one more issue that I want to raise, and it's a very small issue, but it's important.
All right.
Okay. Eric talks about the principle of collective responsibility.
Yes.
It does not arise in the matters that we are discussing now.
It does.
Really?
Now, let me show you. Let me show you. Take your time. This is Dr. Bawumia. He says there's a fuel price increase. He heard it on air. And when he heard it, he was so surprised that he didn't even believe it. It means that he was not in the meeting who took that decision. It means he was not part, and therefore the principle of collective responsibility does not apply.
Yeah, because technically,
but if 3 days to an election for a flag bearer would be involved in a meeting on fuel price increase.
Hold on. The principle of collective responsibility derives from another principle, which is democratic centralism.
Okay.
When all of us meet and disagree, the majority view ought to be supported by all. That's the principle of collective responsibility.
Right.
But he's telling us that he was not even part of those decisions. He didn't know. He was surprised by those decisions. He heard them on radio like you and I. So the principle of collective responsibility does not apply in this case.
Just a quick question, Uncle.
Yes, please do.
Strictly speaking, crudely speaking, do governments increase or decrease fuel prices? Isn't it an AAF thing, automatic adjustment formula? After every quarter, they will review and then...
Then why is he complaining?
Yeah, because he didn't know...
Then why is he complaining?
No, because of what you said, which is that...
I am not the one
a decision
complaining.
Was taken
no,
and now he's saying
I'm not the one complaining. He's the one complaining.
Yes.
And his complaint is that 3 days to an election,
fuel prices
should not have been increased.
Well, I find that a bit problematic too. I get the question because
in any case, there's even a more substantive matter.
Yes.
Should the rise and fall of petroleum prices
yes.
be dependent on the fact that we are going to hold elections?
Absolutely not.